This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Matt, did you see this article that came out about potentially the hottest market in 2025?
I sure did. That's why I forwarded it to you.
The hottest market is supposed to be Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas.
The market that you loathe. You can't ever imagine. You think they should send the worst criminals in America to Dallas-Fort Worth. That's how horrible it is.
I don't think it's that bad. I just think,
when you were on your tour of America with your wife, trying to figure out where are we going to live, where are we going to put down roots.
Yep.
You stayed in Dallas-Fort Worth for at least one night, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you didn't like it. You're like, this is terrible.
So honestly, I thought we'd end up in Texas. I thought we'd end up in Texas or Tennessee.
There you go.
Like I had a positive outlook on it, but when I got there, the weather is just, it's not California. It's humid. And it's just...
Some people like it because it's the hottest market for 2025.
Some people like it. You know what? We'll help people move out of California, no issues. We'll help people move into California, no issues. But in private, Valerie and I like to joke that anybody who leaves California, you know what we call them?
What?
Quitters. We call them quitters. So they're a bunch of quitters. So Texas can have the quitters. But speaking of quitters, there are a lot of people who are still thinking that they don't need a real estate agent. Just don't see the value in the real estate agent.
Can we go back real quick, though?
To quitters?
No, yeah. Why do you think Dallas-Fort Worth is poised to be the hottest real estate market in the nation for 2025? Is it because of the new president, Donald Trump? That's just a lot of people want to be in that area during his presidency.
I think Texas has a lot of good things going for it. Aside from the weather, have you been to Dallas recently?
Not recently. I went there a couple years ago.
So it is just crazy, the growth. It is absolutely insane
because of a lot of Californians.
Because of Californians, people in other states moving there. People Texas is just growing significantly. The number of people living in Texas, and they're business friendly. There's a lot of great things that Texas has going for it, but for the typical, blue collar person moving from California to Texas, you're not going to see a huge change in your overall financial budget moving to Texas.
Oh, because that's what a lot of people assume. Hey, I'll sell my property, which has a lot of equity in it, and go pay cash for something in Texas, kind of like what the Bay Area folks do for Sacramento.
Yeah, so we're Texas for Bay Area people. In Texas is Bay Area for Sacramento.
Right.
But here's the thing too, is that it's the costs. You just got to be. The property taxes are different. The structures are different out there in Texas. And I'm not a Texas native. I'm not a Texas expert. I just know I visited, and it was not the state for me.
And they don't have sushi. McCooney has not opened up a sushi restaurant in Dallas.
You gotta have McCooney's if you're gonna move anywhere. But I am surprised at how. So what makes me nervous about areas like Texas, like Dallas, that are growing quickly, just look a little to another part of Texas, Austin. Austin was growing crazy fast, and then all of a sudden things shifted, and now they've seen some significant price corrections in their market. So if it's growing fast, if it's outpacing what is normal for that market, just keep in mind it could also swing the other way. So are you buying in the peak, or are you buying in the valley, or where are you in that buying cycle?
I think a lot of people, though, are not even looking at the financial situation. I think a lot of people just want to move out because of the politics or the restrictions. Holy cow. Look at the segment we just did with Good Life, just talking about the chaos of some of the laws that just make it crazy to live in this state because of the legislation and all the different stuff. And some people just want to be out and they want to be done with that. So they go to Texas, and that's not to say Texas doesn't have their own things.
Texas has tons of its own things. There are a lot of people out there that businesses that will not do business with Texas because of how the state government has treated them. And so you hear about stuff in California, you hear about stuff in Texas. I would just say, if you're making the move, make sure that you have some backup options in place. Hey, we're moving to Texas not just because of the politics. We're moving to Texas because of the politics, and because it has good schools for my kid, and because I have a good job. I wouldn't move to Texas because, hey, we'll figure it out when we get to Texas.
Yeah, correct. Because you've seen people, and I know people too, that have moved there, and it just wasn't what they hoped, and they moved back.
Yeah, they moved there. They thought it would be one thing, and it ended up being something completely different. And they moved for one reason. Maybe it was just the political reason, and they realized, hey, you know what? Politics aside, life was better in California.
Yeah,
or life was better in North Dakota or wherever, Washington, wherever you're coming from. So
maybe that's one reason why you need a good agent to give you that kind of advice, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I have these conversations regularly. I'm always, working with clients in and out of their homes, and even family members are asking me, like, Johnny, why do we need a real estate agent? I find the house online. I can just the paperwork can't be that hard.
What are they calling that? An iBuyer? Is that what they're calling that? Because I think I saw an article in the New York Times asking the question, do you need a real estate agent anymore? Are folks just becoming iBuyers, which I guess that means internet buyers?
Internet buyers. So iBuyer, when I think of the term iBuyer, it's typically somebody like an Open Door, an OfferPad, like an institutional type of buyer that's coming in and purchasing the home for the home seller and giving them flexibility. It's basically an investor. It's a cash offer.
Right. Okay.
And the Open Doors of the world are trying to make it that way, but think about so Open Doors program is designed to then sell the property. They're not keeping the property. They're not the end user. They have to buy it and then sell it, and so they have to buy it at a price that makes sense for them to resell. So you're paying for the convenience. It's a more expensive option than a traditional real estate agent, but you're paying for convenience. Now, let's say you're purchasing a property. You can log on to some of these companies. They have apps, and you can go in and access the lockbox if the home's vacant. You can go in and you can do all this without a real estate agent. What people don't understand. So, for example, there's a story. Maybe you've heard it before. Many variations of the story exist, but the one that I'll tell is this guy owned a big ship. He owned a yacht, and for whatever reason, the engines weren't working on the yacht. And so so he's like, we need to get it fixed. Hire the best guy. Let's get him out here. So this old timer comes out, hops on board, goes down to the engine compartment, spends about 15, 20 minutes evaluating everything, pulls out a little ball peen hammer, hits the engine, and the engine fires right up. He didn't fix anything. He didn't have to do any parts. He didn't have to do any of that stuff. And so he gets an invoice. The owner of the yacht gets an invoice, a couple days later for $250,000. He's like, what the heck? I don't know why. Why am I paying $250,000 for this repair? Like, I need an itemized invoice.
Right.
Show me why it's $250,000. And so the guy said, 1 hour of my time, $50. Knowing where to hit the hammer, the other $250,000, where to hit.
Oh my gosh! I don't think I've heard that story. I love it though.
Because that's what the realtor brings in. So you're like, hey, I found the house. I know how to do all that stuff. What value is the realtor bringing? You know
where to hit the hammer.
I know where to hit. And so I know how to negotiate. I know how the contracts should be structured. I know good people in the industry. So are you working with a quality home inspector, or are you working with somebody who, is just going to tell you what you want to hear, or maybe scare you out of the home? Are you able to good lenders? So for example, our in-house lender, the JJ Mack team, they have a special program right now that people with I-10 or people with low credit scores or people who own small businesses that maybe are financially challenged but have the revenue and able to purchase a home, but just maybe credit challenged, their taxes aren't necessarily up to date. They have a special program that allows you to buy a home. I have that information. That's my hammer. That's the knowledge, right? And if you don't align yourself with a quality real estate agent, then I get it. It's not you're not seeing the value there. But if you work with quality, you recognize it. 47% of realtors in 2023 did not sell a single home. 1 in 2 did not sell a house. 98% of realtors sell fewer than 1.5 homes a month. So if you line up 100 realtors, that's 98 of them. So if who you're interacting with, I get it why people see and say that they don't need a real estate agent, because they're interacting with pretenders. They're interacting with hobbyists. They're interacting with people who say they're a realtor but aren't really doing the business. Would you consider yourself a mechanic or a doctor if you're seeing 1.5 patients a month? Like, are you a doctor? Is that somebody I would want to bring my family to and have my kids checked out by? You got to treat real estate the same way. Mm-hmm. A real estate agent is going to not only save you money but make you money in the long run.
I like that. I think the finding where to hit the hammer is oversimplifying what real estate agents do. It's actually a lot more complicated and takes a lot of finessing and work and thought and process. And it's not just going and smacking a hammer in the right place.
And it's always an evolving thing. So people are like, hey, I've sold 3 houses. Okay. During what time frame? Oh, about 35 years. You sold 3 houses in 35 years. Great. I sold 3 houses this week. Okay, over your 35-year period of your experience, contracts have changed, policies have changed. What's being paid by who has changed. Your experience is totally irrelevant compared to what's happening right now.
Right.
And so I'm not discrediting you. You do bring some knowledge to the table. You do have some wisdom, some life experience, and some even real estate experience because you've bought 3 houses. But that experience is very different than somebody who's doing this day in and day out.
Right.
Even an agent that's selling 18 houses a year is going to have a different perspective than somebody who's selling 18 houses a month.
Sure. You could go to court and represent yourself, and that would get the job done.
Yeah.
But when you want a professional that's going to advocate and know what they're doing and defend you, because you want the best when it comes to representing you in a very important situation. And obviously, a home transaction is the biggest transaction you have in your life.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to DIY it.
No.
You want somebody who knows what they're doing. And you're right, though. The challenge is there's so many agents out there that are giving the industry a bad rap.
Yep.
That's the hurdle that I feel like you, Johnny, and your team has to overcome on a regular basis.
So one of these episodes, we got to go into depth on how to fix that. My take is on it to renew your fees. It's about $1,100, maybe $1,200 a year. Which that's $100 a month. That's a lot of money, but that's a low barrier to entry for anybody looking to be a real estate agent. And there's some specific ways, maybe on next week's show, where I think we should dive into how do we level up the industry and protect the consumer in the process.
Let's do it. So if I'm having chest pain, I don't try to YouTube it and DIY fix myself. I go to the professionals. I go to a doctor who's going to be able to diagnose and figure out what's wrong with me and get me on the track to health. If I'm trying to sell my home, do I try to DIY it? No, I go to the professional, Johnny Jennings with the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. They can get you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.